There's nothing worse than trying to sell something that isn't moving. One key thing that I like to do is set up situations where I really have the customers fighting me to buy it before it's even available. And it's just about training that customer base to take us seriously when we say, no, we can only produce this. And if you want it, 10 a.m. Monday, be there or miss out.
It's the E-commerce Master Plan podcast, here to help you solve your marketing problems and grow your e-commerce business. Cutting through the hype to bring you inspiration and advice from the e-commerce sector and beyond. Here's your host, Chloe Thomas.
Hello and welcome. It's great to have you here. Thank you for hitting play and choosing to listen to one of our inspiring guests. This is one of our masterclass episodes where we get an e-commerce expert onto the show to share the key things you need to know in one e-commerce subject area. In this episode, we're exploring how you can double the sales from a single promotional campaign without going crazy on ad spend. My guest explains it far better than I can, so I'm going to let her explain the how. Suffice to say, this is really for you if you're looking to improve profits, make your team more efficient, and build stronger relationships that aren't just about discounts with your customers. So basically, all those things you really should be doing right now, all achieved with what you're going to learn in one podcast episode. How cool is that? Please do make sure you listen to the end of the episode so you don't miss out on my guest top tips, frequently described as the best bit of the show, and an amazing offer she's making to help you all do all of this. Have you yet downloaded our ebook? To celebrate reaching episode 500, we've created an epic e-commerce success-focused ebook for you, packed with 500 top tips about how to make your e-commerce store more profitable, featuring the advice of many past guests alongside industry experts and many of you as well, our listeners. I've checked every single tip and organised the whole thing into sections for you, making it super easy to dip in and dip out and take inspiration as and when you need it. This ebook needs to be sat on your desktop or even printed and sat on your desk. Download your free copy right now at ecmp.info/ebook. Get 2024's most valuable e-commerce ebook now, ecmp.info/ebook. And now to introduce our very special guest. Lucy Bloomfield is back on the show, the queen of massive sales growth. It is so much of an error, that entirely my fault, that we haven't had her here for a whole episode since 2021. Bad, Chloe. So who is Lucy, for those of you who haven't heard her on the show before? Well, once upon a time, Lucy ran her own e-commerce skincare business and achieved crazy levels of growth. And since 2018, she's been helping other business owners to achieve huge leaps in sales without allowing the rest of the business to fall apart. A tricky challenge, it has to be said. Hello, Lucy.
Hello, and it's good to be back.
It's awesome to have you back on the show. Always great to catch up with you. How have things been since 2021?
Actually, very peaceful. I actually don't think it was your fault that I haven't been here. I took a little hiatus almost and have just been living life off computers and doing all that stuff. So it's good to be back and talking about e-commerce again. And I couldn't think of anyone better to do it with.
Oh, thank you. And I have to say, I have had a bit of a sneak preview about what we're talking about. And it's so on the money for what brands should be doing right now. You know, it's all about team efficiency, doing more with less, being strategic with what you're doing, building stronger relationships with customers, not relying on heavy discounts all the time. It's so on the money for what we should all be working on at the moment. I am super excited to talk about it. So rather than me waffle on even more about why I'm excited about it, the headline you've given me is how to double your orders using sales campaigns. Double your orders, I get. Sales campaigns, my brain's going, but what is it? What are you actually talking about? So Lucy, what is this sales campaign method you're going to be telling us about?
Yeah, cool. I'm so excited about this. So it's not something that's generally talked about in business marketing, especially getting from $0 to $250,000 and even $250,000 to 500, there's lots of very specialized information and content and experts and specialists on, scaling a Facebook ad account or Google Ads or email specifically, but not this. So a sales campaign it's marketing campaigns essentially, but this is something that they teach university graduate students at marketing with a bachelor's of marketing. And essentially what a marketing campaign is a block of marketing that is spread across the entire internet on every single channel that you have access to. And that could be ads, it could be Google Ads, it could be email, SMS, socials, like everything that you've got. But all of that marketing is designed to achieve one business objective. And there's lots of different objectives that you can achieve with the marketing campaign. So you can do brand awareness and lead generation. My absolute favorite, of course, is making money. But that is like a very specific differentiator with marketing campaigns. The other thing that I think makes them really unique is that it's not just we're going to educate people. A marketing campaign usually has a story, and you tell that story from start to finish throughout the marketing campaign. So it really hits people emotionally and moves people to take action.
Got you. So I think a lot of people will be vaguely familiar with the idea of you're running a promotional campaign. This episode's going out on the 25th of November, so it would be kind of weird if we didn't use Black Friday as the example. So Black Friday being our example, we put all the graphics look the same everywhere. We put the same offer and the same link everywhere. Doesn't that count? But what you're talking about is going really a level above that and bringing that story, that education piece. So we're not just going, it's Black Friday, it's Black Friday, it's Black Friday repetitively. We're doing something that's a bit more interesting and a bit more cut through, right?
Yeah, definitely. So my absolute favorite is bringing in what I coin like a concept. So I'll give you some examples of this. If we had a premium fashion brand that really just didn't feel comfortable running Black Friday sales, but they had the inventory that was sitting there and they could sell it for the price. The thing that for the discount, they didn't feel comfortable with the positioning of Black Friday. And so what we ended up doing is actually releasing that inventory at your stock standard expected Black Friday discount or offer. But we never have ever in 4 or 5 years of marketing that business ever said Black Friday. We never say those words. Instead, what we came up with was a concept because for them, they unlock their quote unquote vault and they open the doors to the vault, and it's an exploration into the history of this luxury brand with so many different designs and, moments in the history of this business that the customers are like, oh my God, I remember that. And I was there for that. And it's very story-based and historical and traditional, but it's a concept that people get really emotionally connected to and they expect it every single year. And this actually takes your Black Friday, let's continue with that example, to a completely new level. And it gets so much more cut through.
It's kind of like, and I know, I love the fact you just used the luxury example because so many luxury brands are like, the consumers really want to buy at this time of year, but we don't discount. So how do we participate? And I think it's one of those things I respect many of our listeners have been racking their brains over the last couple of months as well. It's a peak trade. We're a few weeks away from Christmas. Everybody wants to buy right now. The Black Friday juggernaut has trained customers to go November payday. I'm not spending anything until November payday because there'll be discounts. And I personally have worked with brands back when I still did that, who had their best sales day ever on Black Friday, despite the fact they did no discounting at all. So there's a real opportunity to run a campaign at this time of year at depending on your brand, for January sales, for Valentine's, for Mother's Day, Easter, whatever your period might be, but without necessarily just thinking we have to slap a discount on it.
No, definitely not. I generally say to clients that you've got 4 different kinds of offers that you can put in front of people. So there's obviously your classic discount where you're dropping the price of your products. There is another kind of discount that I do recommend, and I think every business should be doing, which is a reverse discount, which is a very friendly way of saying we put out our prices once a year and actually turning that window before that happens into the sales campaign because it's basically a discount. The other games that you can play with it is obviously releasing new stock and then cycling old stock. So if you have a range that's always available, adding in a rhythm where it appears and disappears is another way to create an offer. But I also have like a massive retail group that does their most money on this November window. And they're not actually running a Black Friday offer. They're just controlling access to the Christmas category that they have available. So you have a lot of different options, even if you don't want to play Black Friday offer games.
This is going to sound rude, and it is partly rude. I think it's so easy to be lazy and just go, oh, we'll just slap a discount on it. When actually, if we put the effort in, then we don't have to give away such margin. We make a better impact on the lifetime value of our customers, not just on that sales moment. We save the margin. We probably have more fun doing it because it's more interesting fundamentally as a marketer too. So you're talking about, is this a concept we should be using for every promo we do, like the February promo, the March promo, the April promo? Because to do this feels like both a bit more cognitive work to come up with a good idea and not be the rude laziness I was just talking about, but it also feels like maybe there's also a lot of work to make sure it actually all comes together as well. So should we slam customers with this 12 times a year?
You can. I've had clients, especially small companies that are coming up, that use this process to basically ensure that, you know, your monthly baseline sales requirements are met. The only thing is that the more you do it, the less cash you get from it. So if you do it more often, you will have consistency in what this process nets you, but you don't get the massive big bursts. And I can say, like, point blank, completely honest, the clients that are doing this every single month are absolutely not doubling their orders.
So it's a couple of times a year, 2-3 times a year, 4 times a year. What would you what's your number one recommendation?
1 to 2.
Wow, really, really focus in and drive the right result. So with this, it's Monday before Black Friday. This episode comes out. Now is not the time to start the planning, is it? So how far out would you advise people to start playing? Is it too late now to do this for the January sales window? Is it too late for Valentine's? Is it too late for Mother's Day? Or are those still achievable?
No, you can do it. It just depends how hard you want to work. If you've got a team, you can it's a bit grindy, but you can absolutely do it. I would say in an absolute dream world, you're looking at 12 weeks to get ready. And then there's the actual period of time when the campaign is live, which is really like the work doesn't stop until the campaign is fully over. And then everyone needs like a bit of time to recover. But yeah, you're looking like minimum you would want. I'm going to say, I'm saying 12 weeks, but I'm thinking of a client right now, a corporate client that's hired me, and we're 2 weeks away from Black Friday and we're just starting it now. So it just depends how hard you want to work.
Yeah, it's like, well, it's that old thing, isn't it? Like, well, today is better than tomorrow to start, but
yeah.
But if you want to set yourself up for success, then we want to actually get these things planned in and make sure we're making those right decisions. Because we're talking about a cleverer option than slap a discount on it, with story, with great content. And this is going to go out across every single channel. So I guess you've got to involve every single team in this process as well to get the graphics right, the messaging right, and all of that. Is that one of the first things you do, get everybody involved, or is that later in the process?
Yeah, so it's basically a 10-step process. We do it no matter what size the company is, like exactly like this. The first thing is the actual target. So generally speaking, most businesses, the first time they run this without doing any additional like brand awareness campaigns or lead generation campaigns, can get minimum a double the first time they run a sales campaign, if you get the timing and everything right. So the way that I classify a double is that if it's, say, for example, your Black Friday, Cyber Monday 23 offer, you can absolutely double that in 24. You just need to know what the number is you did the previous year and work from there and follow the other 9 steps that I'm going to explain. But it does start to get more complicated once you're a couple of years into it, because you're going to need more eyeballs and email subscribers, and like you need to run calculations and things like that. So I just say to people, like, definitely your first step is reviewing what an offer is worth to you and whether it's putting in this amount of work is actually worth it. If it is, then this is where the fun starts. So strategically, there's a lot of decisions that actually needs to be made, especially if you're manufacturing a product, because you have complexity to deal with, like, for example, production capacities, and can you handle rapid bursts of growth? And also, like, how much can be produced? When can it be produced by? What happens if we exceed that? When can you get me the next batch? And then you design the campaign around your production thresholds and your ceilings. If you're just importing a product or you don't have that problem, it definitely gets a lot easier. You could do a blanket, rollout, but it is actually quite fun working with businesses that have complexity in their production process, because then you get to engineer a campaign that the customers almost have to play a game to be a part of. And it also means that they have to compete more to be a part of it. So I definitely would say, if anyone's listening to this and you're like, well, I can't do that because I can only release 100 units on Monday, it's actually perfect for that, because it can get them selling out really quickly. And the other thing that people really need to understand is that sold out is a status. So the quicker you sell out, the bigger a message it sends to everyone about how in demand you are, and the payoff from that as people find out about that is huge. And that goes well outside of like a Black Friday window. So strategy and like orchestrating and structuring how we're going to hit the target, how are you going to double what you did last year, is the main piece. We spend, if we have the time, a number of weeks in that phase. And then the next bit is basically, what creative do we need? Where do we need it? How much do we need it? Because Facebook ads is a machine, like a creative eating machine. And so is social media and all the other channels. So there's a lot of production that needs to happen. And then it's making sure that the teams involved are able to distribute it and align with the company objectives. And then the final step is actually performance managing that campaign when it's live, so that you can pull even more cash out of it. Hopefully that makes sense.
That does make sense. And I love how much time-wise, that answer, there was so much focus on the strategy and the planning and understanding the stock. And I'm sure some people listening to this would have just as I did the intros, gone, oh, cool, marketing episode. How are we going to, what we're going to tweak in our marketing campaign? No. You want to make it successful, you've got to start back with actually, how much stock do we have? How much margin can we afford to give away? What do we want to do? At what point are we happy to go out of stock on these items? How are we going to structure this campaign? And if you want it to be successful, you've got to do that strategic work. Otherwise, to use a horrible phrase, but you're just putting lipstick on a pig, and you will pay the price for that. You've got to focus on the pig first, haven't you?
Definitely. And I think there's nothing worse than trying to sell something that isn't moving. So one key thing that I like to do is set up situations where I really have the customers fighting me to buy it before it's even available, and then creating situations where they have to compete to buy for it between each other, and then also rewarding them for being a part of that. Because over a number of times of running these things, you start to train the customer base to take you really seriously. When you say you need to buy it on this date, I'm actually really serious. And then when that starts happening, your stock liquidates faster. I feel like this is really important to note. When you get this right, all of my clients are achieving this without ad spend. One of my $20 million retail group clients doubled their Christmas category and then tripled their Easter category, no ad spend. And it's just about training that customer base to take us seriously when we say, no, we can only produce this. And if you want it, 10 a.m. Monday, be there or miss out.
So you mentioned earlier creating those all that creative to feed the Facebook algorithm. That's an optional part of this. That is not a core part of this. If you've done the work with your database, then actually you could run all of this via your owned channels, those organic channels, email, etc., and drive those sales without needing to be beholden to Meta.
That's correct.
Excellent. And It occurs to me we haven't talked about the length of the campaign, because you're talking about warming customers up and building the story. So this isn't a 2-day campaign. I'm guessing there's maybe a warm-up phase, telling people it's coming sometimes, and then there's a period, and then but this might all lead to just like one day in the example you were just giving, where the checkout is open. So it's not a constant sales. Tell us about how the timing structure would work before I waffle on and guess.
So I think this is the thing that makes it so creative for me personally, because it can be really designed to the business specifically. And usually the way that we design the open close or the availability is really what's happening on the back end of the business. So for clients that have production ceilings and thresholds and things that they can't exceed, you do get to kind of like play with how you launch it. For example, one client did have a Monday production cycle, and we would just do launches every single Monday for like 6 to 8 weeks until the stock was cleared. The inventory and the target that they wanted to hit was sold. Other clients that have like a huge, let's say, stockpile of inventory, let's say it's like a fashion business that, you know, a couple of seasons ago stuff that they just want to liquidate, you can actually do things differently. The main thing that I would say to people is that you definitely need 2 things. You definitely need a hype phase that you tell them that it's going to happen and explain what's going to happen if they don't buy. And then you obviously have your launch phase as well. And the other thing that I would say to anyone that's listening is longer doesn't mean more money. Longer will often mean that you make less money. So if you do your hype right, it should be sold out in a couple of hours. If you don't do your hype right and you've got to do it for weeks, that's not as fun.
Well, it's not as fun. And it's also, you know, you've been talking about all those different, almost kind of like neuromarketing things we're hitting: urgency, scarcity, training the customers into expecting these things. And if you don't go out of stock for 2 weeks after saying it was a big one-day sale, it erodes their belief in what you're saying for next time. So you've got to be careful that you're structuring this in the right way so as it will work next time.
Definitely. I would say that's something that we're very considerate of in the first campaign that we do with clients and or students, depending on what kind of company you are. It's better to play a game with the available inventory and to sell out faster initially than it is to be available. I call this controlling supply to manufacture demand. Diamond companies do this all the time. Diamonds are actually a dime a dozen. They are so plentiful, but diamond companies drive up the value of them by constraining our access to them. So it's the exact same thing.
Very straightforward. We should all be doing it. So one thing we haven't talked about is then what happens next time you do this. You've alluded to optimizing and improving for the next time about how we're training the customers. Any tips for the second time we run this?
Definitely. Let's continue with like the Black Friday example. So let's say you're listening to this, you're like, okay, I'm going to run my first storytelling campaign. Wow, this is a lot of work. I've produced all this amazing creative and marketing for all these different channels. What do I do next? So the next thing is you absolutely like 100% have to store this marketing. So we have like a command center that we use, ClickUp, where we store all of the emails, all of the social posts, all the press releases, influencers, the ads, like literally everything. Because then when it comes around to next year, what you definitely don't want to do, and this is how we get able to get our clients and students doubles year on year, is you don't want to remake the marketing. So what happens when you remake the marketing is you actually lose pieces of marketing that were really, really effective, and you introduce variables into your system that mean that you have more risk at play and you potentially won't hit the same numbers. How we're able to kind of set like a baseline, it's almost like producing product. When you're making a product, you need a process, and that process is what you follow to produce this product. Same thing with marketing. When you launch a marketing campaign, you have a structure and a specific rollout. You have certain emails that were sent at certain times to certain people with certain pictures. It worked pretty well. Let's like slightly tweak it this year. But let's literally do it the exact same, but like add these couple of little things in and take it to a new level. so important that you're not redoing that every single year. This is like a mistake that people make all the time. And honestly, there is too much money at stake to treat it so carelessly by remaking the marketing every single year.
It's strange, isn't it? We spend all this time optimizing last week's impact across our different marketing channels, but we so rarely take a whole campaign and go, we might look back at last year's, that email worked well, we'll do that again. But to take the whole campaign and look at how everything fit together and then to optimize is, as you say, it's how you manage to maintain a doubling year on year on year, campaign on campaign on campaign. Is there anything we haven't talked about that we should have talked about, Lucy, in the world of amazing sales campaigns?
And there's something kind of interesting, but it's a little bit left of field. I don't know if your audience can handle it.
I'm up for left of field. That sounds juicy. Not that the whole episode hasn't been juicy, but what's the left field juiciness you've got for us?
Okay, so I have been doing something very secretly behind the scenes with my marketing campaigns that actually completely changed what we were doing. So on this episode, I'm talking about doubling, right? And a lot of the things I've talked about is very much about organization principles, structural principles, systemization, things like that. That's important. Marketing strategy, offer strategy, all of those things, amazing. However, there is something else that was actually a foundational discovery for me and took us from being a marketing campaign agency when I was doing this as a service to we can literally look clients in the eyes and be like, hey, this is going to double your orders. Yes, that's guaranteed. That's in our contracts. So this is what it is. When I was just doing this as a marketing agency company and as a service, I would pretty much run myself into the ground doing this monthly for clients, for small businesses who just needed an effective way for bringing in new customers and cash every single month. And I started researching about cycle syncing and, how I could alter my business so that I wasn't ground into a pulp at the end of every single month. And what I found was some really interesting information about how specific industries actually are very aware of cycle syncing, and they utilize it all the time to get more returns.
And are we literally talking hormone cycles here? Women's hormone cycles?
Yes. Wow. That's correct. Yes.
So have you been bringing this into the marketing activity you've been doing?
I have. Ooh. So if you haven't spent much time reading into this stuff, it's definitely a bit of a rabbit hole. But essentially, men's hormonal cycles are synced to the sun. Every 24 hours, your hormones reset and you're back to fresh you every single morning. Women are not like that. We are actually synced to the moon and we go through a 28-day cycle every single 28 days. So what's really interesting about this is that there are two major industries that study this, build their strategies and processes around the 28-day cycle. First one is farming and the second one is investing, right? So I found these two books. One's a classic farmer's almanac, and then the other one was an investing book that they hand around Wall Street to new, what are they called? Traders, I guess?
Yeah, traders.
Yeah. Farmer's Almanac talks about how there are certain windows in the month where you can get twice as much top, above ground growth, so leafy growth. And then there's a period of the month where you have twice as much root growth. And then the book that I found that they pass around Wall Street, it talks about how at certain times of the month, you definitely should not tell your clients to sell their shares because they will make less. But there's a certain window of the month that they will make twice as much. So just get the clients to hold until then. So this was mind-blowing when I found it, right? But then what I did is I went through all of the clients' accounts that we had access to. And I was like, let me just see if this moon cycle thing actually stacks. And every single client was able to exceed their benchmark on a certain period of the month. So what we started doing was we started timing the campaigns and timing the money asking for when they were historically and clearly in the data the customers were spending more money, and the campaigns actually took off in a way that I had never seen before. And that is where our whole double methodology came from.
Wow. So literally looking at the phases of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
So not taking any data from the customer, but going, how do our past sales peaks track with the phases of the moon? And if that's the phase when it's a good day to sell, that's the day we're going to put sales day for our campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. I'm so glad I asked you if there was anything else. That is like, go. I mean, to be fair, like it's been known by humans for hundreds of years, but we're just bad at paying attention to it. So I love that. Thank you, Lucy.
You're welcome.
E-commerce Master Plan is supported by some of the greatest companies in the e-commerce sector. Here's a reminder of who they are.
Have you yet downloaded our ebook? To celebrate reaching episode 500, we've created an epic e-commerce success-focused ebook for you, packed with 500 top tips about how to make your e-commerce store more profitable, featuring the advice of many, many past guests alongside industry experts and many of you as well, our listeners. I've checked every single tip and organised the whole thing into sections for you, making it super easy to dip in and dip out and take inspiration as and when you need it. This ebook needs to be sat on your desktop or even printed and sat on your desk. Download your free copy right now at ecmp.info/ebook. Get 2024's most valuable e-commerce ebook now, ecmp.info/ebook.
It's time for the top tips round.
Okay, I love this section because it gives me and our listeners some really quick ideas for taking our business to the next level. So Lucy, are you ready for the top tips?
Definitely.
Okay, the book top tip. If everyone listening to this podcast agreed to take Friday off and read a book to make their business better, which book would you recommend?
Oh, that would definitely be my book.
Let's self-plug, please.
So I have a book called Double Your Orders, How to Use Sales Campaigns to 2x Your E-commerce Store Orders. And if you haven't read it, you absolutely should.
And where can we find that if we want to grab a copy?
Doubleorders.com.
Excellent. Okay, everyone head over to Lucy's website, doubleorders.com, to get the book version. I guess of what we've been talking about, isn't it? It's kind of the how-to guide.
Exactly.
Nice. Okay, cool. Traffic top tip then. Which marketing method do you either prize above all others or think doesn't get the press it deserves?
Telling the customers that you're going to do something in advance and making them join a wait list and compete to get access to that.
I love it. Not a specific channel, but a very clever way of looking up, making the customers do what you want them to do. Loving the conciseness of these top tips too. It's very cool. They certainly fit the brief of quick ideas. Tool top tip, maybe a collaboration tool, a social media plugin, a phone app, or just a way of working. Is there a cool little tool you use that makes you and your team more efficient from day to day?
Yeah, so I have the ClickUp Command Center, where basically it's the back end of my marketing campaign agency, and that ClickUp, and it was just life-changing for me implementing such a robust task management system. Highly recommend.
Excellent. It doesn't surprise me you're talking about task management, given the campaign. Impossible without a task management system. Then the carbon top tip. What's your favourite way to reduce the carbon footprint of an e-commerce store?
Oh, it would be 100% swapping your packaging for Hero Packaging, run by Anita Sakar from Sell Anything Online.
So what's Hero Packaging? I've not come across it.
It's like compostable packaging that she developed, and it's I think an Australian company originally, but they're now global. And yeah, it all just kind of melts away in the rain.
Nice. Very cool. Good one for the customers as well. Nice and easy to deal with on the far end of everything. Lucy, thank you for your top tips. Before we say goodbye, we have a duty to the listeners, which is to let them know if they want your help with this amazing campaign. If they want to know more, you've told them how to get the book. If they want more than that, and there's a deal, isn't there? How can they get in contact with you? How can they get this? What have you got on offer?
Yeah, so I have the course version of this, which currently, at the time of recording this, October 2024, has essentially group coaching calls on it where I help you and your team implement this and get feedback and get this sorted so that you've got 1 to 2 campaigns in your business that you can reliably pull from and know you're going to get insane performance from. And then also you get the support with actually performance managing that campaign and pulling as much money out as you can. So rip a deal. This is only for e-commerce master plan listeners. If you purchase before the end of November at doubleorders.com, you can get 50% off if you use the code masterplan. Unfortunately, if you miss this window, you're listening to this later, I can't extend that offer, but what I can do is keep a 25% off deal for you and same code masterplan, and that will be there for you.
That's so cool. Thank you so much, Lucy. So everybody, if you want to get the course that will tell you how to do everything that Lucy's run through with us today, and group coaching calls for support to run those campaigns, I mean, how cool is that? Then you can get that at doubleorders.com. If you use the code masterplan before the 30th of November, you will get it for 50% off. That's half price. And after that, you'll get 25% off. So there's a good reason to take action now. I know you're all super busy because it's Black Friday, but this is a no-brainer to take 10 minutes to go to doubleorders.com and use that code masterplan to get that amazing deal. And details of that are around wherever you're listening to this. You will find all those things and the links and all that good stuff. Lucy, that is such a cool offer. Thank you so much, and awesome to get to catch up with you. And thank you so much for sharing so much on the podcast today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thanks for having me back. Let's not leave it as long next time.
No, definitely not. So much fun catching up with Lucy. I know there's a lot of people in our space who talk about big sales gains and big growth and how they'll help you do that. But so many of them don't necessarily focus on the whole thing. You know, they'll have like a method for this channel or a method for this channel, but they'll have missed out the fact you've actually got to have some product to sell or the longer term impact on your business. And every time I've caught up with Lucy, I've always been astounded by her clarity, the depth of thinking she does to work out all of this, and how it's an all-encompassing long-term benefits for your business strategy. And I hope you all got that from the chat. I mean, how fascinating, how cool. And as I've said, I think twice already in this podcast, how on the money with, you know, wanting to make more profit, give less margin away, wanting to have less overstocks, wanting to have a longer term, more profitable relationship with your customers, wanting to get out of the discount death spiral. All those things come together in this campaign strategy. So I do highly recommend going to doubleorders.com to check out, either to buy the book if you want the really low cost option. Go buy the book, DIY it yourself. We all know you will do better if you have the accountability and the support of the course and those group coaching calls. So why not go and check out all of that information at doubleorders.com. And if you use the code masterplan before the end of November 2024, you will get a whopping 50% off the course fee, which I think she's insane for offering you. So I would definitely be grabbing that. And after that, you'll save 25% again at doubleorders.com with the code masterplan. Key things I picked out of that, I thought, obviously, the syncing with the moon could be very clever, definitely worth testing to see if that makes an impact for you on where those sales bits go. The understanding your stock situation, whether you're manufacturing, whether you're buying in, make sure you're aligning your promotional events with that stock situation, and then the messaging around that as well. If you've got limited stock, do a limited stock event. If you've got to put prices up because things are changing in your supply chain, do a reverse discount that Lucy was talking about. If you've got stock to clear, build the strategy around that. And remembering to optimize. The other bit would be the optimizing the campaigns, using the same process of optimization that you use on your ads and the nitty gritty of your marketing for those bigger pieces. What went wrong last time? What can we improve? Let's take the same marketing, update it, and then add to that so we can take that step forward rather than reinventing the wheel every time. I thoroughly enjoyed catching up with Lucy. I'm sure you all will have done too. So thank you so much for tuning in. You can get your hands on our notes from this episode, including the top tips and links to what we mentioned, by heading over to ecommercemasterplan.com. You can also use our direct episode short links. Just put ecmp.info/the number of this episode into the URL bar and you'll go straight to the right page of the website. When you get to the website, you can add yourself to our email list so you don't miss out on any of the other things I share to help you improve your business. And if you liked this episode and you want to hear a bit more of Lucy, then why not check out episode 253, back a few years, when Lucy joined me to talk through how she grew her own e-commerce store. So we're going kind of back. It's almost like her evolution story where she was being a brand herself and how she went about growing her own e-commerce store. So that's episode 253 of the E-commerce Master Plan podcast with Lucy Bloomfield. Thank you so much for tuning into this and every episode that you do of the E-commerce Master Plan podcast. I bring you a new interview every week because I want to inspire and help e-commerce business owners like you to succeed and thrive with your businesses, including progressing along the path to net zero. So if you know someone this show can help, please tell them to listen to the E-commerce Master Plan podcast. Hope you have a brilliant week. Good luck with your Black Friday sale in whatever format you are or are not doing it. And don't forget to keep optimizing.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Master Plan podcast. Find out more at ecommercemasterplan.com/podcast.
It's time to download our 500 top tips to make your e-commerce business more profitable ebook. Go to ecmp.info/ebook now.